Imagine if one day, without warning, all Europeans were replaced by a totally different group, not through intermarriage or gradual assimilation, but by a complete turnover of the population. The cultural artifacts of one group would still lie scattered across the continent, their hearths and stone tools still marking the caves, but their genetic signature would be wiped away and supplanted by another lineage of people. This is not a science fiction thought experiment, it is a window into Neanderthal prehistory. At the cave site known as Galería de las Estatuas in northern Spain, researchers have discovered that one group of Neanderthals who had lived there for tens of thousands of years was replaced by another genetically distinct group. Their discovery did not come from skeletons or skulls, but from microscopic traces of genetic material hidden in dirt, what scientists call dirty DNA. The breakthrough at Galería de las Estatuas rewrites our understanding of Neanderthal population history. For a long time, the assumption had been that Neanderthals were relatively stable, persisting in their regions for millennia with continuity. Fossils were too rare to tell a clear story, and genetics, until recently, was confined to the luck of discovering preserved bone or tooth material. Galería de las Estatuas offered neither. Only a single Neanderthal toe bone had been found in the cave, far too small and fragile to yield DNA without being destroyed entirely. For decades, this was the extent of skeletal evidence, leaving archaeologists with stone tools, cut-marked animal bones, and the cave's layers of sediment to reconstruct the lives of its Neanderthal occupants. Then, new methods for retrieving genetic information from sediments opened a revolutionary window. By searching for human DNA in the dirt itself, scientists realized they could recover fragments of Neanderthal genomes from places where no usable bones existed. It was as though the cave floor itself had become a genetic archive, recording the invisible traces left by its occupants from their blood, hair, skin, and poop. The results were astonishing. Beneath the layers of sediment that had accumulated between 115,000 and 70,000 years ago, researchers identified not one but two distinct Neanderthal populations. For tens of thousands of years, one lineage occupied the cave. Then, roughly 100,000 years ago, they vanished, their DNA signatures disappearing from the soil, and another lineage appeared in their place. The turnover was total, and it was as dramatic in prehistory as the thought experiment of modern Europeans being replaced by East Asians. The new group was genetically distinct enough that its arrival marks one of the clearest examples of Neanderthals replacing Neanderthals. What makes this discovery so significant is not only the finding itself, but the method. Ancient DNA retrieved from bones and teeth had already transformed our understanding of human evolution, revealing interbreeding between Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo sapiens. But bones are rare, and DNA preservation is fragile. Across all of Europe and Asia, the entire picture of Neanderthal genetics was once based on fewer than 20 individuals. That is like trying to understand the genetic diversity of all of Europe from the DNA of a handful of people. With dirty DNA from sediments, the field has been catapulted into a new era. The dirty DNA, recovered at Galería de las Estatuas, revealed a story that bones alone never could. The older layers of sediment, dated to around 112,000 years ago, contained mitochondrial DNA closely related to the Neanderthal from Hohenstein-Stadel in Germany, known as HST. This was one of the most basal lineages of Neanderthals, sitting deep on the mitochondrial tree and likely representing an older Western European population. These Neanderthals were part of a radiation that extended across Europe during the last interglacial, when the climate was warmer and oak and pine forests stretched over Spain and into Central Europe. But higher in the cave layers, beginning roughly 100,000 years ago, the DNA shifted dramatically. The HST-like mitochondrial signatures disappeared and were replaced by sequences closer to Skladina in Belgium, Mesmaiskaya in the Caucasus, and Vindija in Croatia. The nuclear DNA fragments, sparse though they were, confirmed this turnover. The new Neanderthal population in Spain was related to the younger radiation of Neanderthals that stretched from Eastern Europe into Siberia. These Neanderthals would become the classic Neanderthals most familiar to us, robust, cold-adapted, with stocky bodies and powerful muscles suited to glacial environments. The replacement was so abrupt that it raises questions about what happened. One possibility is climate. Around 100,000 years ago, the warm interglacial began to fade and conditions cooled. The older HST-related population, adapted to warmer environments, may have struggled as forests retreated and grasslands or steppe habitats expanded. Cold-adapted Neanderthals from the north and east, already shaped by harsher environments, may have expanded into Iberia and replaced the local group. Another possibility is more direct. Competition for resources, conflicts between groups, or demographic advantage could have led to the disappearance of one population and the spread of the other. The researchers are cautious, noting that the DNA alone cannot tell us whether it was a rapid process or a gradual one. But the effect was clear. The old population vanished, and a new one took its place. The implications are profound. For one, it means that Neanderthals were not a single, stable population across their range. Instead, they underwent waves of expansion, contraction, and replacement, just as Homo sapiens later would. Two distinct radiations of Neanderthals can now be recognized. The first included HST, Skladina, and the early occupants of Estatuas. The second included Vindiger, Mesmaiskaya, Chagirskaya, and the later Estatuas Neanderthals. This younger radiation corresponds not only with genetic turnover, but also with the emergence of the classic Neanderthal form around 100,000 years ago, with large noses, barrel chests, and powerful physiques adapted for cold climates. In other words, the population replacement at Galería de las Estatuas was not only a genetic shift, but may have marked the arrival of the fully formed Neanderthal we think of today. The genetic replacement at Galería de las Estatuas was not just invisible information hidden in strands of DNA. It was also reflected in the very bodies of the Neanderthals who walked into and out of the cave. The older HST-like population, represented in Spain by the early layers of Estatuas and in Germany by the Hohlenstein-Stadel femur, belonged to a lineage that still retained traits from earlier Middle Pleistocene hominins. Their bodies, though recognizably Neanderthal, lacked some of the exaggerated features that would later define the classic Neanderthal form. The HST individual and others of this early radiation tended to show somewhat less robust postcranial proportions, with limb bones that were still powerful, but not quite as stocky as those of later Neanderthals. Their rib cages and chests, while broad, did not yet exhibit the full barrel-like expansion associated with maximum lung capacity in glacial conditions. Their faces bore the distinctive projecting mid-face of Neanderthals, but the nasal aperture, the wide opening of the nose, was not always as broad or flared as in their younger cousins. In other words, the HST-like Neanderthals looked like transitional figures, adapted to European environments but not yet fully specialized for the cold extremes of the coming Ice Age. By contrast, the Vindiger, Mesmaiskaya, and Chagirskaya Neanderthals, who belonged to the younger radiation that replaced the HST lineage, embodied the classic cold-adapted type. Their limb proportions shifted toward shorter forearms and lower legs relative to body size, a textbook example of Allen's rule, which favors stockier builds in cold climates to minimize heat loss. Their noses became exceptionally broad and tall, an adaptation thought to warm and humidify icy air before it reached the lungs. Their rib cages expanded into full barrels, and their musculature thickened, producing a body built for endurance and raw power. These younger Neanderthals carried skulls with more exaggerated brow ridges and more globular brain cases compared to earlier lineages. Some researchers argue that the full suite of classic Neanderthal traits crystallized only around 100,000 years ago, the very moment when the replacement at Estatuas occurred. If so, the cave preserves not just a genetic turnover, but a morphological one, the disappearance of a more generalized Neanderthal and the arrival of a new, cold-adapted form. The comparison makes the population shift even more dramatic. The early Estatuas occupants belonged to a warmer interglacial world, inhabiting oak and pine forests, hunting red deer and wild cattle, and building shelters at a time when Europe was relatively temperate. Their replacements marched in from the north and east as the climate cooled, bringing with them a body form engineered by evolution to survive glacial winters. The shift from HST-like to Vindiger-like Neanderthals was thus both genetic and anatomical, a wholesale transformation of who lived in Iberia and what they looked like. For the Iberian Peninsula, this replacement has special significance. Iberia has often been considered a refugium, a place where Neanderthals survived longer than elsewhere, shielded by its geography. Yet the DNA from Estatuas shows that Iberia was not immune to population upheavals. The region was not a sealed refuge, but part of a wider web of migration and turnover across Europe. The Neanderthals who replaced the older HST-like population were not Iberian originals but newcomers, pushing westward from populations that stretched across the continent and into Asia. Until recently, the entire genetic story of Estatuas hinged on a single toe bone, too small to sacrifice for destructive DNA analysis. That lonely fossil, by itself, told us little more than that a Neanderthal had once walked in the cave. Now, thanks to dirty DNA, we know that two entirely different populations of Neanderthals called the cave home in succession. The dirt has spoken more loudly than the bone. What emerges from this research is a portrait of Neanderthals as dynamic, not static. Their history was punctuated by migrations, replacements, and radiations. They were subject to the same forces of environment and demography that shaped all human populations. The Galería de las Estatuas discovery shows that even within the Neanderthals themselves, there were winners and losers, groups that vanished and others that spread. This challenges any notion of Neanderthals as an unchanging species locked in time. Instead, they were as fluid as Homo sapiens, their prehistory marked by upheaval. The metaphor of Europeans being replaced today captures the drama of what happened at Estatuas. For tens of thousands of years, one Neanderthal lineage called the cave home. Then they were gone, supplanted by another lineage with entirely different genetic roots. The cave itself, with its toe bone and stone tools, held the silent record. Only with the recovery of dirty DNA has that record been deciphered. The single Neanderthal toe bone from Estatuas remains an important artifact, a tangible reminder of the individuals who once lived there. But the dirt has told us more than the bone ever could. By extracting meaning from the genetic noise of dirty DNA, scientists have opened a new chapter in the study of human origins. And in doing so, they have revealed that even Neanderthals were not immune to the great drama of replacement and renewal, in which one people's story ended and another's began in the very same cave. Thank you for watching.